Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever experienced this? You are busy working, you are eating, you are traveling, you are scrolling on your phone, and suddenly one face, one name, one person comes again and again in your mind. Without a message, without a call, without any communication, they are just there. The question is, what does it mean? You see, our mind is like a garden. Whatever we water grows, and if someone keeps appearing in our mind, it means we are watering their memory, their presence, their energy, knowingly or unknowingly. Sometimes it means love. Sometimes it means pain. The mind is like a garden. Whatever we water grows. If you think about this statement deeply, it can transform the way you see your life, your relationships, your success, and even your failures. Just imagine a beautiful garden. Some people plant roses, some plant tulips, some plant vegetables, and some allow wild weeds to take over. A garden doesn't choose what grows, it only nurtures what is given to it. Similarly, your mind doesn't choose what kind of thoughts to grow, it only nurtures whatever thoughts you keep feeding it with. If you water positive, uplifting, and purposeful thoughts, they will bloom like fragrant flowers in your life. If you constantly water negative, fearful, and doubtful thoughts, then just like weeds, they will spread everywhere and choke the beauty of your inner space. Every day, from the moment we wake up, we are planting seeds in our mind. When the alarm rings, you have two choices. You can water the seed of gratitude by saying, "Thank God, I got another day to live." Or you can water the seed of complaint by saying, "Why do I have to wake up so early? Life is so hard." The choice of which seed you water will shape how your entire day unfolds. If you begin your morning with a positive seed, your interactions will be lighter, your patience will be stronger, and your energy will be more magnetic. On the other hand, if you water the seed of negativity, then the smallest inconvenience will feel like a mountain, and your whole day will be surrounded by unnecessary stress. Take an example from daily life. Imagine you are stuck in traffic. Now, traffic is something none of us can control, but we can control the seeds we water in our mind at that moment. One person sitting in the same traffic can be boiling with anger, honking, and shouting at others. His mind is watering irritation and impatience. By the time he reaches home, his whole body is exhausted, his mood is ruined, and his family suffers from his irritation. Another person, sitting in the same traffic jam, chooses to water calmness. He plays his favorite music, listens to an audiobook, or reflects on his blessings. By the time he reaches home, he is relaxed, he is cheerful, and he has saved his inner peace. The traffic was the same, but the gardens of their minds looked completely different because of what they chose to water. This principle also applies to relationships. If you keep watering the small mistakes of people, constantly remembering who said what wrong, who hurt you, who ignored you, then your mind becomes a garden filled with bitterness. You will never see the beauty of the flowers they planted for you, because your attention will always be on the weeds. But if you water the seeds of appreciation, remembering their kindness, their small gestures, the moments when they supported you, your garden becomes fragrant with love and gratitude. The relationship flourishes because your focus is on growth, not on decay. Think about students preparing for exams. One student waters the seeds of fear. What if I fail? What if I forget? What if I am not capable? These thoughts keep multiplying like weeds and choke his confidence. Another student waters the seed of effort. Let me give my best. Let me focus on learning. Whatever happens, I will improve. This thought gives him strength and his mind remains calm even in pressure. The syllabus for both is the same, but the growth of their inner garden is completely different. In fact, even health is connected to this principle. Studies show that people who constantly think stressful, anxious thoughts are more likely to get sick because stress weakens the immune system. They are watering weeds of fear and anxiety, and it shows up in their body as illness. On the other hand, people who practice gratitude, joy, and hope often recover faster and live longer. They water the seeds of positivity, and their mind gives them the strength to heal their body. Now let us look at one more powerful example. Suppose a person has a dream to start a business. If he keeps watering doubts, what if it fails? What if people laugh at me? What if I lose money? Then weeds will overtake his garden, and he will never take the first step. But if he waters hope, what if it works? What if I succeed? What if I create something meaningful? Then his mind will bloom with courage, and he will take actions that move him forward. Success or failure may come later, but at least he will live with the fragrance of courage instead of the poison of fear. The truth is, we don't realize how powerful our watering can is. Every time you repeat a thought, you are pouring water on it. Every time you talk about a situation, you are watering it more. Every time you replay an incident in your head, you are giving that seed energy to grow. Some people water their wounds daily by remembering who hurt them 10 years ago. They don't realize that every memory replay is like pouring a bucket of water on a weed. And some people water their blessings daily by remembering who helped them, who smiled at them, who guided them. And their garden shines with colors. So next time you find yourself stuck in negativity, pause and ask, which seed am I watering right now? Because your future will not be shaped by what happens outside, but by what you allow to grow inside. If you water anger, you will harvest regret. If you water love, you will harvest peace. If you water fear, you will harvest insecurity. If you water gratitude, you will harvest joy. Life is not about controlling the weather of the outside world, but about cultivating the garden of the inner world. And once you learn this art, you will see miracles happen. Just as a barren land can be turned into a green paradise with care, your mind, no matter how negative it has been, can be turned into a paradise of peace, joy, and wisdom, only if you choose wisely what to water. Presence without communication means unfinished emotions. This line has so much depth if we sit down and truly reflect on it. Think about the times when someone keeps coming to your mind, even though you haven't spoken to them for weeks, months, or even years. Why does that happen? It's not because your phone forgot to call them. It's not because they are around you physically. It's because emotionally something remains incomplete, like a book left open on the last chapter, like a song paused before the final note, like a conversation that ended with silence instead of clarity. That incompleteness becomes a constant presence inside your mind. In daily life, we can observe this in many ways. Imagine you had a small disagreement with a friend. The argument ended, but no apology was exchanged, no closure was made. Days pass by, but their face keeps appearing in your thoughts. You replay the conversation again and again, thinking, I should have said this. They shouldn't have said that. That is the power of unfinished emotions. They don't vanish just because the communication stopped. In fact, they grow louder in silence. Take another example, a person who once deeply loved someone but never expressed it. Life moved on, circumstances changed, but every now and then when they see something familiar, a song, a place, a scent, the person comes back into their mind. Why? Because the emotion of love was left unfinished. The words, I care for you or I love you, were never spoken. The communication never happened. But the presence is still there, strong and unshakable, because emotions don't need Wi-Fi, they don't need phone calls, they don't need messages. They survive in the silence of the heart. Even in families, unfinished emotions play a big role. A father who worked hard all his life but never expressed his love openly to his children. After he passes away, the children remember him constantly. They think of the times he could have hugged them, the words he could have said, the care he could have shown. His presence lingers not through communication, but through the unfinished emotion of longing. Similarly, a mother who sacrifices everything but never says, I am proud of you, leaves her children constantly thinking about her approval. That presence without communication is nothing but the echo of unspoken emotions. This truth is also visible in pain. Suppose someone hurt you deeply but never apologized. The wound is still there, the scar is still burning. Even if that person never calls, never messages, their presence doesn't leave you. Why? Because forgiveness has not yet been given, the hurt has not yet been healed, the emotion remains unfinished. You may block them on your phone, but you cannot block them from your mind. The silence between you and them becomes heavy, filled with all the words that were never exchanged. Sometimes unfinished emotions are not painful, they are inspirational. Imagine a teacher in school who once praised you, but you never got the chance to thank them. Years later, their face still shines in your memory. You keep thinking, if only I could meet them and tell them what difference they made in my life. That thought lingers because the gratitude was never fully expressed. Gratitude left unspoken becomes a beautiful unfinished emotion that keeps a person alive in our hearts forever. There is also another kind of unfinished emotion, regret. Many people lose their loved ones without ever saying the words they wanted to say. They live their whole lives remembering those people. Not because communication is happening now, but because the emotion of regret keeps the presence alive. That is why wise people always remind us, don't leave words of love, gratitude, or apology unspoken, because tomorrow may never come, and those emotions will remain unfinished, living inside you forever. If you think about it, even success and failure leave behind such emotions. Suppose you tried for something, a job, a dream, an opportunity, and couldn't achieve it. That unfinished desire will keep visiting your mind until you either fulfill it or accept it. The lack of communication here is not with a person, but with your own self. You never communicated closure to your own heart. That's why the presence of that dream keeps disturbing you again and again. So, presence without communication is not a mystery, it is a mirror. A mirror showing you the places where your heart is still carrying unfinished emotions. Love unexpressed, gratitude unsaid, forgiveness ungiven, dreams unfulfilled, apologies unspoken. All of these leave imprints in our mind that continue to live long after communication has ended. Life becomes lighter when we begin to complete these emotions. If you love someone, say it. If you are grateful, express it. If you are sorry, admit it. If you are hurt, forgive and release. Because once emotions are completed, the lingering presence reduces and peace fills the heart. Otherwise, silence becomes heavier than words and memories become louder than voices. So the next time you find someone constantly in your thoughts without any communication, ask yourself, what emotion inside me is unfinished? Is it love I never expressed? Is it gratitude I never shared? Is it forgiveness I never gave? Or is it pain I never healed? The answer will not only explain why they are present in your mind, but will also guide you towards the path of inner peace. Because presence without communication is not about the other person. It is about you. It is about your heart seeking completion. It is about your soul longing for closure. And once you give that closure, you will realize that the garden of your mind is not meant to be filled with unfinished emotions, but with the fragrance of peace, love, and wholeness. It's not about them, it's about you. These words may sound simple, but if you truly sit with them, they can change the way you look at relationships, memories, and even the thoughts that occupy your mind. When someone lives in your head without any communication, our first instinct is to think, why are they doing this to me? Why don't they reach out? Why do they keep haunting my thoughts? But the truth is, it's not them. They may not even be thinking about you. They may be busy in their own lives. The reason their presence still feels alive is because of you, your attachment, your emotions, your unfinished business. Think about a mirror. If you stand in front of a mirror with dirt on your face, you will see it clearly. You cannot blame the mirror for showing you what is on you. In the same way, when someone keeps appearing in your thoughts, it is a mirror reflecting your own heart. Something inside you is unsettled. Maybe it's love, maybe it's anger, maybe it's guilt, maybe it's gratitude. Whatever it is, the root is not in them, the root is in you. In daily life, this truth appears in small but powerful ways. Imagine you're walking in the street and you suddenly remember a classmate from school you haven't spoken to in 10 years. Why? Perhaps because back then they encouraged you when you were nervous. That encouragement became part of your identity. Their presence today is not about their existence. It's about your gratitude that never found words. You are carrying the echo of that moment, not them. Similarly, if someone hurt you badly and you can't forget it even after years, ask yourself, is it because of them, or is it because you haven't healed yet? The pain is yours, the wound is yours, the anger is yours. They may not even remember the incident. They may have moved on, but the emotion still lives inside you. So once again, it's not about them, it's about you. Healing doesn't come from waiting for them to apologize. Healing comes from you deciding to forgive, to release, to let go. This is the same in relationships. Many people complain, he never calls me, or she never messages me. But the truth is, the pain you feel is not about their lack of communication. It's about your expectation. You are expecting them to behave a certain way, and when they don't, it hurts. The expectation belongs to you, not to them. This doesn't mean they are perfect. It means the power to be free from pain lies in your own hands, not theirs. Let me give another example. A young professional works hard in an office, but the boss never appreciates his efforts. He goes home every day thinking about the boss, complaining, feeling frustrated. Who is suffering? Not the boss. He might not even realize what the employee feels. It's the employee who waters the thought daily, who replays the scenario, who carries the burden. It's not about the boss. It's about him, his need for recognition, his hunger for appreciation, his dependence on external validation. If he shifts his perspective and learns to value his own effort, the boss will no longer occupy his mind. Even in families, this happens. A child might feel ignored by a parent. For years, they carry resentment. My father never cared. My mother never understood. But if you see closely, the pain remains not because of what the parent did or didn't do. The pain remains because the child inside is still seeking approval. The absence of communication becomes an unfinished chapter. But the power to close that chapter lies with the child, not with the parent. By accepting, forgiving, and choosing peace, the child can finally be free. Once again, it's not about them, it's about you. This truth also applies to success and failure. Suppose you failed once at a dream, and people who doubted you keep replaying in your mind. You think about them, about their words, about their laughter. But is it really about them? No, it's about you. It's about how much you allowed their words to enter your heart. If you grow stronger inside, their presence disappears. The problem was never them, it was always your permission. You allowed their negativity to sit inside you. Life becomes very light once we realize this. Instead of asking, why are they not calling? Why are they not appreciating me? Why are they in my mind? We begin asking, what is inside me that keeps holding on? What is inside me that needs healing? What is inside me that is unfinished? This shift of focus changes everything. Because if it's about them, you are helpless. You can't control them. But if it's about you, you are powerful. You can grow, you can heal, you can choose. Think of it like carrying a heavy backpack. You keep blaming the person who gave you the bag. Why did they put this on me? But at the end of the day, you are the one still holding it. The weight remains because you refuse to let it go. The moment you drop it, you feel free. It's not about them, it's about you. And this is the key to peace. If you want freedom from thoughts of people who no longer communicate with you, stop looking outward, look inward. Ask, why am I holding this memory? Why am I feeding this thought? What lesson is hidden for me? When you find that answer, the constant presence fades and you regain your peace. So the next time someone keeps living in your mind, remember it is not their fault, not their power, not their choice. It is your heart, your emotion, your attachment, your lesson. It's not about them, it's about you. Once you shift this perspective, you stop being a prisoner of someone else's absence and become the master of your own presence. Love, pain, gratitude, or forgiveness, one of these keeps them alive in your mind. Whenever a person stays in your thoughts, even when there is no communication, it is usually because of one of these four emotions. These emotions are powerful. They don't just touch the surface of our heart, they live deep inside, and they don't vanish easily. They become like invisible threads that keep pulling your mind back to the same face, the same memory, the same person. If you sit quietly and reflect, you'll realize that every time someone comes to your mind, it's because you are still holding on to either love, pain, gratitude, or forgiveness. Let's start with love. Love is a feeling that refuses to stay hidden. Even if you never say it, even if you try to bury it under responsibilities and routines, it always finds a way to resurface. You may not talk to the person you love, you may be miles apart, you may even know that the relationship can never happen, but the emotion of love is so strong that it creates a presence in your mind without any effort. Just like fragrance spreads from a flower even when you don't pick it, love spreads in your heart even without communication. Think about a young man who once cared deeply for a friend, but never expressed it. Years later, whenever he passes the places they visited together, their face flashes before him. Not because they are calling, not because they are messaging, but because the love inside him never got expressed. Love keeps people alive in our minds far longer than we expect. Then comes pain. Pain has the power to dig deep trenches in our memory. When someone hurts us with betrayal, harsh words, or neglect, that pain becomes like a wound that we keep touching again and again. Even when the person disappears from our life, the memory of that hurt remains. It is like carrying a scar on your body. You don't see the injury anymore, but the mark never lets you forget. A woman who was humiliated by a close relative may not have seen that person in decades, but every time she faces a similar situation, the memory returns. Not because the person is communicating, but because the pain they left behind still has unfinished healing. Pain keeps someone's shadow alive in our minds long after their presence is gone. Gratitude is another powerful reason. Some people come into our lives and do something so kind, so meaningful, that we can never forget them. A teacher who gave you confidence when you were trembling before your first speech, a stranger who helped you in a time of crisis, a friend who stood by you when everyone else walked away. Their kindness leaves an impression on your heart forever. Even if you lose touch, their presence remains in your thoughts because gratitude is one of the purest emotions. You may not communicate with them, but inside you, you keep blessing them, remembering them, and silently thanking them. Gratitude has a way of keeping people alive in your memory with warmth rather than pain. And then there is forgiveness. Sometimes the reason someone lives in your mind is because you haven't yet forgiven them. Forgiveness doesn't mean you forget what happened. It means you release the control that memory has over your peace. But when forgiveness is incomplete, the mind keeps going back to the person. You may have blocked them on your phone. You may have avoided them for years. But in the silence of the night, their memory creeps back. Why? Because your heart has not yet fully let go. Until you forgive, you keep carrying them in your mind. Forgiveness is not a gift to them. It is a gift to yourself. It is the act of telling your heart, I free myself from this weight. Until that happens, their presence will keep returning to your thoughts. If you look around, you will see these 4 emotions at work everywhere. A mother who remembers her grown-up child living in another country is not just thinking of him out of habit. Her thoughts are tied with love and gratitude. A man who cannot stop thinking about his business partner, who cheated him years ago, is bound by the chain of pain and lack of forgiveness. A student who often recalls his teacher long after leaving school is carrying gratitude that still glows in his memory. A woman who avoids thinking about her ex-friend but still feels disturbed when their name comes up is struggling with the unfinished task of forgiveness. Life is full of such examples because emotions are the real fuel of our memory. Communication may stop, but emotions don't stop. They live quietly inside and show up in thoughts again and again. That is why someone may live far away, may never speak to you, but still hold a strong presence in your heart. The beauty is that all these emotions can be transformed into growth. Love can teach you how deep your heart can care. Pain can teach you resilience and compassion. Gratitude can keep you humble and remind you of blessings. Forgiveness can set you free and open the doors of peace. If you don't resist them but learn from them, these emotions no longer become chains, but become teachers. So, whenever you find someone constantly in your mind, pause and ask which of these 4 emotions is keeping them alive. Is it love, unspoken and pure? Is it pain, unhealed and heavy? Is it gratitude, glowing and warm? Or is it forgiveness, waiting to be released? The answer will give you clarity, and once you understand, you can decide whether to hold, heal, or let go. In the end, remember, people don't remain in our thoughts by accident. They remain because our heart is still holding on to love, pain, gratitude, or forgiveness. Once we recognize which emotion it is, we can honor it, learn from it, and move towards peace, because thoughts are not chains meant to imprison us. They are messages meant to guide us. And when we decode the message, the constant presence turns into wisdom, and our heart finally finds rest. Completion ends repetition. These 3 words carry a wisdom so profound that if we truly absorb it, many of our restless thoughts and sleepless nights would disappear. Our mind is like a circle. Anything left incomplete keeps going round and round. Just like a song stuck on repeat, it doesn't stop until it reaches its end. When we complete something, whether it's an action, an apology, a confession, or even a personal dream, the repetition of that thought in our mind begins to fade. But when things are left unfinished, they come back again and again, disturbing our peace, reminding us that something is still pending. Think about a student who leaves a subject halfway while preparing for exams. Even if he studies everything else, his mind keeps running back to that one unfinished chapter. No matter how much he distracts himself, the thought returns. That chapter is incomplete. Once he sits down, studies it, and closes the book with clarity, that thought stops repeating. It's no longer haunting him because he gave it completion. This is the same with our emotions and relationships. Take an example from everyday life. Suppose you fought with a close friend, words were exchanged, and communication stopped. Days, months, maybe even years pass by, but the friend keeps coming into your mind. Why? Because the fight was never completed with closure. Maybe you never apologized, maybe they never explained, maybe the relationship never received clarity. So the mind repeats it again and again, reminding you like an unfinished assignment. But the moment you complete it, whether by apologizing, forgiving, or simply accepting, it stops repeating. Completion ends repetition. Another powerful example is love. Many people carry the memory of someone they loved but never expressed it to. Life moved on, circumstances changed, but the person lives in their thoughts constantly. It is not because love is a weakness, it is because love was left incomplete. The words remained unsaid, the emotions remained hidden, and the chapter was left open. So the mind, in its nature, keeps revisiting that unfinished page. Had the person expressed their heart honestly, whether it was accepted or rejected, at least the chapter would have ended. Completion would have stopped the repetition. Regret also works in the same way. Imagine someone who always wanted to pursue music but never did. They grew older, worked in a different field, but every time they see a guitar or hear a beautiful song, their mind takes them back to that unfinished dream. The repetition continues because the dream was never completed. Sometimes people finally pick up that instrument at 40, 50, or 60, and when they complete the dream, the restless repetition turns into satisfaction. Life feels lighter because the circle finally closed. Even gratitude works this way. Suppose someone helped you in a big way, but you never got the chance to say thank you. For years, whenever you remember them, your mind feels a gentle pull. I should have expressed my gratitude. The presence repeats because the emotion was left incomplete. But the moment you reach out or even pray for them sincerely, the repetition reduces. Completion brings peace. On the other hand, pain and forgiveness are some of the strongest examples of this truth. If someone hurt you and you never released that pain, your mind will keep replaying the incident endlessly. You will remember their face in the middle of work, their words will echo in the silence of night, and the wound will remain fresh even after years. Why? Because the chapter was left incomplete. Forgiveness was not given. The mind doesn't let go because completion hasn't happened. But the moment you forgive, not for them, but for your own peace, the repetition loses power. The mind stops circling back because the lesson has been completed. In daily life, we even see this with simple tasks. If you leave your room messy, every time you walk into it, your eyes repeat the same thought, I need to clean this. But the moment you clean it, arrange everything, and give the task completion, the thought stops repeating. Small or big, life follows the same laws. What we leave unfinished keeps repeating until we complete it. Completion is freedom. It doesn't always mean things will end the way we want. Sometimes completing an emotion means letting go instead of holding on. Sometimes it means accepting that closure may never come from another person, so we must give it to ourselves. But once we make peace with it, once we close the circle, the mind stops playing it again and again. Completion ends repetition. So, if someone is always in your mind without any communication, ask yourself what is incomplete here. Is it a love I never expressed? Is it gratitude I never showed? Is it forgiveness I never gave? Is it a dream I never fulfilled? The moment you complete it, you'll see the mind begin to quiet down. The human heart longs for closure the way a story longs for an ending. Imagine watching a movie that suddenly cuts off before the climax. You will keep thinking about it for days, wondering how it should have ended. But once you see the full movie, the story ends and your mind is free. Life is the same. The people who live rent-free in your mind are not there because of who they are, but because their story with you is incomplete. Finish the story in whatever way life allows, and you'll be free from the endless repetition. Completion ends repetition. It is not just a phrase, it is a truth that can liberate your mind from endless cycles of thoughts. Once you practice it, you will realize that peace doesn't come from forgetting, it comes from completing. And when you complete, you stop living in circles and start walking straight towards freedom. Acceptance brings peace. These three words are like medicine for the restless heart and the overthinking mind. Many of us spend our lives wrestling with situations, people, and memories that are beyond our control. We replay conversations that already happened. We argue with circumstances that cannot change, and we fight with the reality of what is. In this constant inner battle, we lose our energy, our sleep, and even our joy. But the moment we learn acceptance, the storm begins to settle, and peace quietly walks in. Acceptance does not mean weakness. It does not mean you agree with everything or that you approve of what happened. Acceptance simply means acknowledging reality as it is, instead of endlessly resisting it. Think about standing in front of a mirror. If you don't like your reflection and you start shouting at the mirror, breaking it or covering it, does your face change? No. You only hurt yourself more. But when you accept the reflection, you can decide how to improve it. Life is the same. Denying reality makes us suffer. Accepting it allows us to work with it. Take the example of relationships. Sometimes someone you deeply love may walk away. You may keep asking, why did they leave? Why didn't they value me? Why didn't they stay? Your mind goes into loops, repeating the same questions like an old tape recorder. But no matter how much you resist, the fact remains, they left. The pain stays until you accept the reality. And the day you accept, your heart stops fighting the past and starts finding ways to live in the present. That is when peace begins. Another common example is failure. A student works hard, but doesn't get the grades he expected. He cries, complains, and compares himself to others. His mind keeps repeating, I deserve better. But the result won't change. What has happened has happened. Only when he accepts the outcome can he redirect his energy to prepare better next time. Resistance drains, acceptance heals. We also see this in our health. Imagine someone is diagnosed with a long-term illness. At first, denial and anger take over. Why me? Why now? The person becomes bitter, unhappy, restless. But as soon as acceptance sets in, something magical happens. The energy that was wasted in fighting reality turns into strength to live with it. They begin to find joy in small things, appreciate life more, and their heart becomes peaceful even in the middle of pain. Acceptance didn't cure the illness, but it brought peace in spite of it. Acceptance also works with people's behavior. Many times, we try to change others. Parents try to change children. Partners try to change each other. Friends expect perfection. But the truth is, no one changes just because we want them to. If we constantly resist their nature, we stay frustrated. For example, a friend who is always late may never turn into someone who values punctuality like you do. If you resist, every meeting will be a storm of irritation. But if you accept, you will either adjust your plans or reduce expectations, and suddenly peace replaces anger. Acceptance is not approval. It is simply choosing peace over constant resistance. Even in daily life, we face small situations where acceptance can save our peace. You are stuck in traffic, running late for an important meeting. You can honk, shout, curse the vehicles in front of you, but the jam won't move faster. Resistance only burns your energy. But if you accept the situation, yes, I am stuck, let me listen to something calming, let me plan ahead, let me breathe, then peace enters. The outer reality may not change, but your inner state transforms completely. Acceptance also helps with the people who stay in our mind without communication. Sometimes it's not possible to get closure, not possible to ask the questions, not possible to receive the answers. Maybe the person is far away, maybe they are no longer alive, maybe the circumstances don't allow it. In such cases, acceptance becomes the only doorway to peace. You accept that some chapters don't close with words, they close with understanding. You accept that not every story will have the ending you imagined. And in that acceptance, the repetition in your mind begins to fade. Think of nature. When a storm comes, trees that resist too strongly often break, but trees that bend with the wind survive. That is the power of acceptance. It doesn't mean surrendering to defeat. It means flowing with life instead of being broken by it. Acceptance also deepens gratitude. When you stop resisting life for not being perfect, you begin to notice the blessings that are already present. Instead of saying, I wish I had more, you say, I am thankful for what I do have. Instead of fighting reality, you embrace it, and in that embrace, peace becomes natural. A powerful example of acceptance is forgiveness. When someone hurts us, our first instinct is to resist, to replay, to retaliate, to hold on. But forgiveness is a form of acceptance. You accept that the past cannot be changed, that the wrong was done, and that holding on will only poison your peace. By accepting, you release yourself from the chains of resentment. And when you forgive, peace floods the heart. Acceptance brings peace because it teaches us that life will never fully match our expectations. The world will not always bend to our will, people will not always act as we wish, and circumstances will not always be fair. But if we spend our lives resisting what we cannot control, we only multiply our pain. If instead we accept what is unchangeable and act wisely with what we can change, we become free. So if someone is always in your mind without communication, maybe the missing piece is acceptance. Accept that you may never hear from them. Accept that the bond may remain incomplete. Accept that love, gratitude, or forgiveness doesn't always need a response. It can exist silently in your heart. The day you embrace acceptance, the endless noise in your mind will soften into silence, and peace will take its place. Because in the end, life is not about controlling everything. It is about flowing with reality, and in that flow, finding the stillness within. And that stillness comes only when you practice the truth. Acceptance brings peace,